Welcome to the Right Place podcast, where we learn with you how to navigate the world by building connections that matter, relationships that last, and businesses that thrive. My name is Rudolf Rautenbach, and with me is John Watson, and welcome to the Right Place. John, how are you doing today?
I'm great here in Cape Town, Rudolf. Thanks a lot. It's raining a little bit, so we're definitely approaching our winter months this side.
Yeah, I'm sitting here in short sleeves, but I took the jacket off just to look a little bit better, but I'll definitely put it back on later. It's been a busy month actually, and the last while we've been floating around holidays and school holidays and public holidays, and I think there's a lot of work in between. But yeah, it's part of life, and that's what we do. And then we do a podcast as well, and people always ask me, where do you get the time to do all of these things? And I think this is one of the favorite parts of my week, where we can just have a chat and almost cut yourself off from the rest of the things that's happening around us.
No, I agree with you. I always look forward to our weekly catch-ups on the podcast. And I've told people that we were catching up quite a bit in terms of business and networking and the CBN and the IBN. And now we kind of just record those conversations and we talk about an interesting topic and we try and add value. So yeah, it's good. It always feels like a bit of a therapy session, and just forget about the rest of the stuff happening and just have a conversation.
Yeah, you actually came up with a topic a while ago, but we want to discuss how you behave or how you handle yourself or approach someone that is famous. And I can tell you for one that I'm absolutely not starstruck. I do recognize a lot of people and I will speak to them, but it's not like I disrespect people, but I don't go and address people by a title. I feel it's a bit of a platform that we normally put people on, and they're just humans. Out of respect, older people, obviously I will. But if it's someone that is a doctor, has a doctorate, PhD, or a medical doctor or so on, I'll still call them sir or on their name. Sometimes I will slip in as a joke almost the title. And I feel the same way about famous people. I think they appreciate the fact that we recognize them as a person first. And that's the way I want to be treated. I'm not famous at all, but it's the way I want to be treated first. I don't want to be known as the accountant Rudolf. I'll rather be Rudolf, and by the way, yeah, he's an accountant as well. So I prefer it that way, and I also treat people in the same way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's maybe the golden rule, to treat a celebrity or a famous sports person as a person first. And sometimes you'll meet these people, you might meet them at the mall or at a networking event or at a corporate function or a seminar or something like that. And just understand that they're also there as a person. They're not necessarily there as a sports person or an ex-head of state or a politician or something. They might just be there as a regular person. And I think you can really impress them by treating them as a person and just being courteous, greeting them nicely, and not making a complete fool of yourself. I think we've all been around maybe one or two celebrities. They're also sometimes a little bit nervous to be there because they know people are going to recognize them. Some people stand out like a sore thumb because they're so famous. You've seen their face on the TV or the newspaper. So they know someone's going to come up to them and talk to them or ask for a selfie or an autograph. So I really think treat them like a person, be kind and courteous, smile and wave, don't bother them too much, and really make a complete idiot of yourself.
Yeah, also, I think there are places to approach, like you mentioned, the conference or a seminar or so on, or I bump into a lot of people at the airport for some reason. It seems like they fly a lot. Once walked into Becky Cele, the Minister of Police, and couldn't believe it how massive he is. He's such a big guy. He's really big. And I was actually rather surprised to find him there, but I didn't go close to him because he was surrounded by 6 bodyguards. So there's a time and a place to approach people. And I would see someone in a restaurant sitting with his family. I don't think that is the place to go and talk to him. If you bump into him walking outside or walking into the bathroom or something, you can greet and say, how's it because they know you recognize them. I think they almost expect people to recognize them these days. But to go and talk to them while they're sitting eating with their family, I think is a bit inappropriate maybe. So you need to select the time that you do this at as well. If it's at a sporting event and you're meeting the team or some of the players after the game, I think that is common. It's something that is almost expected, where you go and take a photo with them or speak to them or introduce the kids or so on. But don't just rush into something where it becomes bothering them, where you actually in their way, or you're preventing them from just enjoying being there. I think you need to select the opportunity quite well.
No, exactly. And I think once you've found that opportunity, then keep it short and sweet. Don't then overstay your welcome and want to tell your whole life history to this person. They are not interested in you, actually. They're actually not interested in you. They'll be friendly and they'll meet you and they'll shake your hand or take a selfie. But they don't need to hear your entire life story. They haven't got time for it. You actually don't have time for it. You've got better things to do. And I was just thinking back to the Finance Leaders Conference last year. There were quite a few well-known people on the stage. Zuby, the rapper, and the podcaster was there. Michael Jordan was there, and a couple of quality speakers. And what I saw with them getting ready to talk is that they almost isolated themselves. So this celebrity or this famous person has got a job to do. They're going to be on stage, they're going to be MC, and they're going to be talking. That is absolutely the wrong time to go and bother them. You wouldn't want to be walking on stage and someone comes into you, bumps into you and wants to take a selfie and wants to talk about the weekend or when you were a rugby player or anything like that. Just give them some space. So I think also read the room. So like you said, identify the right opportunity. And maybe it's not the right opportunity to talk to them at all. Maybe you just saw them and you could, like you said, you could see how tall Becky Chele was, or you could see how they handle themselves on stage, and maybe there'll be another opportunity. But if you're going to force your way in there, I don't think it's going to work out well for you.
So what happens if you now approach someone, so you know that it's a bit awkward, you go and stand there and there's probably 5 or 10 other people as well that want to chat to them, but so you probably have a minute, 30 seconds, a minute. If you get more than that, you potentially preventing someone else from getting the opportunity, or secondly, you are becoming a bit of a nuisance to this person because you're talking too much about yourself, or just not allowing the flow naturally to take place naturally. So what is it that you actually do from experience? Because I would go and greet, potentially not talk about myself at all. I would say my name, introduce myself, and then ask some sort of a question relating to either the topic that took place or something interesting about the person that I've always wanted to elaborate on or find out. So what is that approach that you would take to ask, to introduce yourself firstly, but just to get the conversation going?
I think you need to simplify things. So obviously greet the person, look them in the eye, shake their hand, say it's nice to meet you, and then just have one thing to say. Don't rattle off a list. And you're my hero, and I had pictures of you on the wall, and I need a selfie, and can you send a voice note, and can you phone my mom, it's her birthday? Like, just have like one thing to say. Just, I really enjoyed that moment in this match, or I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say today. Or sometimes just leave it at, it's lovely to meet you, I've always wanted to meet you, can we get a selfie? Keep it short, and maybe if they start engaging with you, then you've almost opened the opportunity, and maybe they'll be interested in you, and then you can answer some questions because they know already that you know almost everything about them. So some of these celebrities or the famous people that you meet, they want to know, okay, who you are, which school did you go to, or why are you here, or what's going on in your life. But if you're going to bamboozle them or bombard them with stuff, I really think it's not going to go well. You might leave saying, oh, yeah, I got all of my 8 questions out of the way, but I don't think that's the right approach. So I would say keep it simple.
Yeah, we mentioned earlier on that you need to treat them as a person, treat them as a human being first. And I think the same applies, is that you need to be a person as well, and not just go on this this bull run, just stampeding over them, but actually have a conversation, allow it to flow naturally. And I want to quickly tell you something. I've got this friend. He stays in Stellenbosch. You actually know him, and he has probably got about 20 odd cricket and rugby shirts from different players that are professional players that used to play or currently playing and so on. I think you might have 100 or 200 cell phone numbers of sporting people that all of us know. And he never played at that level. He's not a big player. He's not a leader of business. He's rather high up in business, but he's not on an executive level. But he
Mm.
manages to be a friend to people. He meets them somewhere, talks to them, makes a joke. He's a very funny guy as well. Makes a joke or two, and chats to them, and they almost trust him. And I think if you can get to that level, you'd actually engage in almost becoming a friend, although
Mm.
it's probably only someone that's familiar, that you know a little bit. But I mean,
Mm.
I've had an opportunity once to drop him off at a petrol station on the highway here close to my house. We had to fly to Durban, and he had a very famous rugby player pick him up and take him to the airport. I'm like, no, I'll take you to the
Wow.
airport. He's like, no, I already arranged with him to pick me up. And so that's the level of relationship that he's built just through connecting at a human level with these
Mm.
famous people. And they are famous people. All of us know their household names.
Mm.
So he's definitely doing it right. And on a business level, for instance, I've had one or two opportunities opportunities. I took advantage of the relationship and asked him, listen, can you connect me with X, Y, and Z? Which he duly
Mm.
did. After informing the person, listen, I want to connect you to Rudolf because he wants to do that. And the guy said yes or no. And so he's
Mm.
introduced me to a few people already because he's built that trust. And I think if you can get to that place, then you're obviously doing the preset correctly, because you've earned the relationship, you've earned the trust, and you're not just all over the show because it's a famous person. So I think there are ways that you need to relate to people, and for me, that way is to do the same things that I would do to another person who is not famous. If you can't treat all people the same, then you're probably going to irritate these famous people, I suppose.
No, I agree with you. I think that's a wonderful approach. We mustn't forget that famous people, celebrities, they also need friends, they need connections. Some of them might have left the sporting world and now they're in the business world. So they need to make connections, they need to build up their network. They got their job quite easily at a corporate or something because of who they are, but now they need to put money on the table. They need to get stuff done, bring
Yeah.
deals. So they need to connect. So also, I think some of these people have a very strong filter in terms of this person just wants to take from me, or this is someone I can actually trust because they get hounded every single day, stopping at the garage, going to movies, going to the beach with their family. These people are bothered a lot. So if you come across as a genuine person and a friend and you're not screaming and shouting and jumping up and down, "Ooh, you're super famous, let's do something together," I think you've got a strong in there. And like your friend has done with building that trust relationship, it can open up an amazing network for you, but you can also be a very useful person to know because, just talking from experience, these famous people, they are talking at golf days, then they're overseas, then they've got the business to run, then they're on holiday. So they have like very full schedules. So if you can be a useful person for them to know and you can open some doors for them or you can connect them with the right person, then you might be friends with an ex-rugby player or a musician or someone, and that could be really cool because I mean we all like to know these people, we all like to spend time with these people. They've obviously lived an extraordinary life, but they're just a normal person actually, and maybe they're in the normal phase of their life where they've got a 9 to 5 job, they've got family, they've got kids to look after. So building that trust with someone like that is very important.
Yeah, it's being a friend. So try and be that and then from there on, the rest will flow. And once you are a friend to someone, to ask a favor or to tell them about your problems becomes a lot more normal than walking up to a stranger asking a favor from complete random unknownness. It's just not normal. So I think, firstly, try and build that relationship, try and build some common foundation so that you are able to elevate from there. But you can't start there and bring it down afterwards. I think it's just the wrong way around. John, when we spoke in advance, you mentioned a few things that you say are absolute no-nos, and I'm quite interested in listening to those in a bit more detail. So, what do you say in terms of approaching someone that's obviously famous, that potentially has a crowd around them, and you get a chance to engage, and you've got your 30 seconds or your 1 minute of fame? What is it that you should not at all do in that moment?
I think the number one thing is don't bring up any scandalous behavior. Maybe this person's gone through a divorce, a high-profile divorce. Maybe they've been on the cover of the Huisgenoot for the wrong reasons, or in the Sunday Times or something like that. They've had a tough time. Don't bring that up, or only bring it up in case, or in situations where maybe they've achieved, they've gotten through this adversity, they've gotten through this tough time, and they've come out the other side stronger and a better version of themselves. Then you can bring it up. But don't start talking to a guy and say, "Oh, yeah, you had to pay a 5 million rand fine for corruption," or, "Yeah, I would have also divorced that lady. She was absolutely crazy." You just don't say stuff like that. They're still hurting, or they still in a bit of trouble. So don't talk about scandalous stuff. I would rather talk about some of the good things they've done, or like we said earlier, just meet the person, shake their hand. Great to meet you. Get a selfie. Thanks for your time. Don't be that one person that when this famous person or celebrity goes home, they're like, "I can't believe that guy did that. I can't believe that idiot. If I see that guy again, I'm going to hit him between the eyes." And I mean, some of these guys will do that. They'll clock you proper, and then you're going to end up in the Sunday Times.
Yeah. I can just imagine there are some guys with a bigger biceps than you, John. I also think while I'm listening, I think that it's important to be very prepared. So, like you said, the scandalous side. Sometimes you walk up and you're not prepared, so you crack a joke, but you don't necessarily know what's going on in this person's life at the moment, and that joke might just be the wrong thing at that moment. So as you're waiting for your turn to talk to them, or you see them, already think of, listen, I'm going to greet him, obviously, but I might want to ask this or that, or I want to comment on the last thing I saw about them, which was this game or that try, or a speech that they did, or something like that. So have that follow up ready, so that you don't stand there and look at him, and then you revert to instinct. Because as soon as that happens, you could potentially just say the wrong thing. I think it's important to have a follow-up question or comment ready, so that you are able to let the conversation flow. They probably won't reach out to you because they really do not care what you are doing in that moment, because they don't know you and they'll probably never see you again. But if you can ask a question that resonates with them, then potentially that could lead to something further. But yeah, the odds of building something in that minute that could lead to more work or a further relationship is very slim. So I think the opportunity is just there to have something memorable and start a conversation that potentially could lead to something, but don't expect it to be a miracle in that moment.
No, absolutely. And I think, Rudolf, you've had, with your obsession with cricket, you've met quite a few famous cricketers. And I think it was last year or the year before, you met obviously one of the biggest cricket superstars of all time, Brian Lara. I think it was at SuperSport Park. Tell us about that interaction and how that went down.
Yeah, shame, man. We saw him sitting in the players in the suite and in the dressing room, and obviously recognized him. He's a bit older now, still short, but he's a little bit older. And the game ended and they lost by far. The West Indies test team is not great at the moment. And so you walk to the front, standing at the rail, and we just walked a little bit up. And I asked him, what is he going to do about this? Because he's now the director of cricket there. What is there to do about this? And he just shakes his head. It's like, no, it's a tough game. And I think he understands the enormity of the job that he has. But yeah, he also appreciated, and I could tell that he appreciated the fact that we recognized him. Because he's an ex-player, he hasn't played for 20 odd years. He's an ex-player, he's older. So he doesn't necessarily expect younger South Africans to still recognize him, because he's in the days that we grew up, he was a good player. And I asked him, listen, can we take a photo? And he actually posed, stood still. And then some of the West Indies supporters that sat next to us also came, and they were chatting to him, but they stayed in the same hotel. So that actually also helped in that he could relate that we've engaged with these guys, and it made it a lot more comfortable to just have a chat. And we didn't talk for too long, and then just moved on. But he was very engaging. And from his side, the game is now about the current players. So he's actually out of the limelight, and he's got a huge responsibility. So he did really appreciate the fact that we had this quick chat to him. And I think if there wasn't this barrier in between us, because he was a level or two up with two fences in between, we could have probably stood there chatting for quite some time. But yeah, it was just time to move on. I think the approach is not as difficult, because it was a relaxed environment. The game was finished and there was nothing more to do. He was just waiting for them to come back. So the timing was also quite good. If it was a tense chase and things were still heating up, you would probably not even look in our direction. So that definitely also helped.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I was just thinking when you were talking about that, when I attended the Zero conference, I think it was in 2022 or 2021. John Sarnay was the keynote speaker, and I'd just then started listening to some of John's talks and the Expansive podcast, and there was a long queue of people to talk to him afterwards. But that same day, I think he had to fly to Dubai, had to get to the airport to go and talk overseas again. And I didn't have an opportunity to talk to him then or to greet him or anything. There was just so many people around him. And I just remember, oh man, I've missed my opportunity, but maybe something better will happen. And literally 6 months later, the Expansive podcast had a live podcast recording at the Apart Hotel in Seapoint, I think Seapoint or Greenpoint side. So me and a couple of friends went and attended it. And I got to talk to John for about 15 minutes. And it was absolutely amazing. And it was really cool to be able to talk to this guy that I'd looked up to. And was just a normal guy, and he was so much more interested in me and what my friend like Quentin and Lawrence were up to, and what do we do. And it was such a cool interaction. So sometimes if you don't get that opportunity, maybe it will come down further down the line, and it will be even better. Yeah, so I think you got to sometimes take that in mind and be a little bit mature about this, especially some of these sports stars. Young kids are crowding them for selfies and photos and sign my rugby ball. Just step back and appreciate the moment, and maybe you just get a handshake out of it. But maybe further down the line there'll be a longer conversation.
Yeah, for sure. And I think also the fact that you're putting yourself into the situation to actually have the opportunity is already a good thing. For people who are quite shy in terms of speaking or approaching people, it's a good way to practice that and to just going out, reaching out and just greet. Don't have to talk, don't have to say anything, but you overcome that fear of just exposing yourself potentially. And sometimes you've got nothing to offer. You've got nothing of value to give this specific person, because you're worlds apart and you can't relate really. But just to greet and maybe say congratulations, or yes, that was an amazing event, or a great shot, or a great kick, or whatever the case was, just to recognize the person. But on your side, it's actually enabling you to overcome those fears of of speaking to people or to approach random people, and it will help you a lot in work environments as well. Where you go for a sales meeting, that person is almost like an idol. This buyer of yours, this customer, because you have to approach them in the same way that you're going to approach this famous person, and you don't know the network of this person on the other side of the table and the potential of doing business with them or just relating to them or pitching an idea to them. It might open up a massive new world to you. So the same rules apply. You still treat them with respect. You don't waste their time. You don't bring out the scandals if you know anything about them as well. So exactly the same rules would apply to this potential client of yours or any new relationship, I suppose. And I think if we take the fact that this person is famous out of the way completely, we would treat everyone exactly the same. I think that a lot of people, almost all of us, we don't have enough time in a day anymore. So to waste a famous person's time and to waste my time or waste John's time is the same. So there's a lot of people looking for attention from them. Might not be the same case for me, but I am busy. So it doesn't help that you tell your whole life story and then we have 5 minutes to talk about what's really important here. But if we connect on a certain level, at some stage we might have a braai, and I will listen to your long story about your life. But it's probably not the opportunity at the first meet. So get to the point and do that. What you came to do. Have that conversation first, and then go on to maybe chatting about history and your own stories as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's important is we must, especially in the South African context, is we can just have a normal conversation as South Africans. And they are also just as affected by the political situation, the load shedding, and they're also concerned about their children. They're also concerned about economic growth and things like that. And you can just have a lack of conversation about that. So you don't have to talk about anything that this famous person has done. You can just talk about current affairs, talk about the weather, complain about sport not going the way that it should. So you can just have a normal conversation. I think because we don't have really a celebrity obsessed culture in South Africa to a certain extent. Like in America and the UK, it's just tabloids and scandals and celebrities, and we don't really have that. So these famous people that we meet, some of them are flying under the radar. Just treat them with respect. Treat them like your fellow South African. Treat them with admiration, but don't let it get awkward or weird. And if you feel like if I'm talking to someone famous, and if you feel this person isn't really interested, then just walk away. Oh, thanks, great to meet you. You leave the conversation. Break it off, shake their hand. Oh, great to see you. Walk away. Maybe it's just not the right time. Maybe they've had a bad day, or they're worried about what's going to happen this afternoon or something like that. So I think treat them the way that you would want to be treated if you were super famous. And hopefully one day all of us become super famous for the right reasons, and we can capitalize on that and build a connection and build a network of very famous connections. But until then, just treat people with respect.
John, we probably need to end off, but I need you to talk about that last tip that you failed to mention earlier on. And the funnier one of the lot. So maybe just throw that out and then we can close after.
Yeah. So one of my tips is just don't go on, and don't point and laugh. Don't throw this person under the bus, which I've seen actually at a golf day before, where someone will go up to a celebrity, point to someone else, and then ask that celebrity to badmouth another celebrity. Like, can you believe how bad that guy plays? Like, just don't do anything like that. Don't go on and on. Don't overstay your welcome. And just remember that these people are human as well. You got to read the situation. You might be very nervous. You might be shaking in your boots meeting your crush from high school or your sporting hero. But I think just don't go on and on and on and on, because there might be 20 other people there. So give them a chance. And maybe once those other 20 people have had their selfie or their chat as well, then there might be 10 minutes for you to shoot the breeze with this person.
Good. Thanks, John. As always, it was nice to chat to you. I think there's a lot of value in there. And for me, the bottom line here is they are all human. All of us are human. We want to be treated exactly the same. Respect, don't waste my time, and also don't go about to make a scene about the fact that I am famous or you are famous or so on. So I think if we can
Mm.
get that right across the board, you'll be in good stead. You'll be fine, and the conversation will flow a little bit better. But yeah, thanks for your time, John. I hope people get a lot of value out of this. Yeah, if you like this conversation, subscribe to this channel of ours and like this post and share it if you want. And then we'll see you again at the right place at a future meeting. Goodbye.
Cheers.